everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ripple Effect Podcast. We are so glad that you've joined us, whether you are watching this online or listening to it on the go. We are glad that you are here with us. The Ripple Effect Podcast is a behind-the-scenes look at stuff going on at the church and our opportunity to bring you some things that are going on, that are coming up, that you need to know about, and also a way to highlight and spotlight different ministries and organizations that we think you should know about. Before we get into everything going on this week, we want to let you know about the sponsor of the week. And we've had a lot of different potlucks and dinners and food. And so the sponsor of the week is some good old-fashioned saran wrap. You know, this is a heavy-duty saran wrap. And the one thing I love about this is it's in a safe cut box. And you just open it up, and then you put it down, and then just a little... That's all it is.
You know, it took me a while to learn how to use that thing.
Did you?
And you'd think it would be the simplest thing ever, but I was trying to just tear it, and I didn't realize that had.
Oh, you were like tearing
the first
off
time
of
I
it.
went to use that big roll, I was trying to tear it off the edge.
Well, we had a great time at our barbecue community this past Sunday, and we were talking about it with our staff that there was just a lot of new people. And I forget how sometimes you need events like that to just welcome in new people, invite them. It's a little bit easier for them to come to because there's very low expectations and everybody loves to eat. So I was really appreciative of seeing new people, meeting some people, getting to have conversations, and then of course the barbecue contest, which turned out great.
Yeah. I thought, of course, Sunday we were scrambling a little bit because we had to move it inside, and that just changed stuff up. But I was really happy with it. It was fun.
It was fun.
Like you say, it's a good chance. Some of you are newer and hopefully met some new faces and talked with someone you'd never met before.
Yeah, and the winner of the barbecue contest was a surprise. A kind of a late entry. She wasn't really planning on doing a whole lot, and then blew the judges away with her bacon wrapped chicken. I think is what
I didn't get to try it.
It was gone.
I smelled it when she first brought it in, and it smelled amazing. But
I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to try it, but apparently it was amazing. Sherry Wallace won the overall prize, and then the second and third place went to Mr. Kyle Dignan, and he did a great job smoking chicken. I think he did chicken as well. But
chicken and pork loin.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So we just want to say thank you to everybody who brought food. We had a great time. The 9 Square was fun. I got to play a little of that. Your son got me out like twice.
Yeah.
And
Preston and Dawson both loved that.
Dawson did not get me out. he did not, but Preston did. So we had a lot of fun. This past week we finished our series on our relational series, and I thought Sunday went really well. I love the music. The music was really, really good this week. I thought it tied right in with everything that we've talked about, and nothing went awry.
Yeah. It's always a good week when we get to the end, and like Sunday should always be exciting, we hope, and energetic and all that, but it's just like if you have one of those weeks that no big tech glitches. Now, first hour, we did have something go awry. I don't even know if you knew about it.
What?
But your mic issue was caused by 2 of the amps were not even on at the whole first part of first service. So if you were sitting, like if you're looking at the stage and you're sitting on the right side, you probably were like, what is happening for the entire first half of the service?
Is that why Mark got up?
Yeah. So Mark, of course, he used to run sound, and he has kind of an ear for stuff, and he knew something was wrong. But you really couldn't tell it, like from the middle over to the left. You couldn't tell anything was wrong, except he was having to turn everything up a little more than normal. But Mark was like, I don't think the amps are on.
Oh my goodness.
And for the people on that side, they weren't on. It's like, how did we do that? Wow. The only thing I noticed was everything seemed like it was just a little lower.
Yeah. I didn't notice at all, but I was sitting like to the left in the center, so I couldn't really tell. And I'm going to confess something. I don't always get to be in there during the first couple songs.
Right.
Because I'm finishing up talking to people or greeting at the door. And, but I did. I got to go in and be there. And it's always good to hear the congregation singing together and worshiping together. And the microphone, I just took it as a sign that I needed to stop rambling as much and get to the point when I had to switch. So it worked out just fine. But anyway, if you missed any of the service, I was really encouraged by, and I was happy with how that series turned out, the relational series that we did. If you missed any of that, it's posted online at tlcc.church, and you can catch up on all of what happened on Sunday there. Let's move into the top three, the TLCC top three of the week. You've got those. What do we need to know coming up this week?
Yeah, we've got a few things. We've been announcing a lot of stuff, and we're going into fall, so things will be ramping up and getting busy soon.
Yeah.
But we're picking a few things to highlight today. One of them is that John Rawls will be here. Now, John Rawls, I think, is one of our Timothys, we call them. I may be remembering that wrong, but I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure he was ordained here. He's done different missions and ministries through the years, but he's going to be here talking about his current endeavor, and that'll be in the Master's Servants class, which meets during the second service. So if you want to go to that, you need to attend church at 9 and then go to that class at 10:45, and it's in 402, 403.
Right.
So that's something that you might want to go to. Even if you don't normally attend Master's Servants, you're welcome to that. Come to that.
Yeah.
Second, Bible Bowl. We talked about that Sunday. So we're kind of on the edge of if we can even do Bible Bowl. And, different seasons of church life, different amounts that families are busy and all that.
Bible Bowl, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like Quiz Bowl for school, but they use the Bible, and it's a great way to help students memorize Scripture and interact with other students in engaging with Scripture. So they'll take chunks of the Bible, they pick a section of Scripture for the year, for the season, and then you have different questions that are asked, a lot of memorization. Did you do Bible Bowl? Did you ever do it?
Well, we did things kind of like that, but I grew up in a denominational church that called things by different names.
Right.
But
That's right. I did Bible Bowl growing up, and it is a great way to engage with Scripture and to help your children, grandchildren, students that you interact with, help them memorize and engage with Scripture. So anyway, keep going.
Well, the practices will be starting soon. This is for 6th through 12th graders.
Yeah.
So, if you're watching this and you're a student, either you're a kid, grandkid, maybe even maybe you're a student watching it or listening to the podcast today, let us know and we'll put you in touch. Yeah, you may already know James and Tracy Williamson. They kind of coordinate it for our area. The competitions are over at Central Christian College, so you don't have to drive far if you're from here.
Yep.
And if I remember right, Bible Bowl Nationals are going to be here this year at Central.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of sad if we don't have a team.
Yeah.
But then again, right now I don't think we have enough students to have a team.
compete.
So my son wants to do it. So hopefully one of you will take the challenge and join the team.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing is Bible Bowl. The third announcement for today, the TLCC top 3, is once again Serve Day and Church in the Park. Now we're going to have a lot of information this coming week about groups and all that. I thought about mentioning that today, but we don't have all the details quite nailed down yet, so we'll do that next week. As far as talking about what Wednesday night, Sunday night, or just growth groups in general, small groups. But Serve Day is coming up, and that's going to be September 10th. Also, we'll be having Church in the Park at Depot Park again at 10:45 that day.
And it's not going to rain this time.
Yeah, well, if it does, put in the band under the pavilion, so we're going to be prepared.
And I'm not saying you should bring an umbrella, but maybe have it in the car, maybe, just in case.
A canopy, bring your
canopy.
little 10 by 10 canopy.
If we had enough of those, we could create our own little,
Yeah. So there is a pavilion. if it starts raining, you can cram in under there. But we'll have 9 o'clock service here if you can't get around well, or for some reason you can't come to the afternoon service or the late morning service. Go ahead and come here to the church at 9. And I think we're going to do a shortened service so that we have plenty of time to get downtown.
Yeah, so that day will look like, if you want to do your, some of the serve day projects will happen in the morning. So some of you will want to come to the 9 o'clock service, and then you'll go and do your projects in the morning. Some of you will want to get to your projects early in the day and get them done by the 10:45 service. And so it's going to look a little bit different, a little bit more divided out this year between the projects. But we're going to have a shortened service at 9 a.m. at the church, send people out to do their groups. You might just want to come to that service and then come and grab your lunch, which will be at the church building. But you could also do your projects in the morning and then finish up by 10:45 and join us downtown for an outdoor service, which are always fun. And then there might even be some projects that waits to do their project till after that 10:45 and just do their project in the afternoon. So this year we're spreading it out a little bit, which will give you more options for your family and to participate in serving.
Yep.
So,
okay,
there you go, the top 3, just to remind you of what's happening and what is going on. John Rawls is coming on Sunday. If you would like to hear him, he'll be he'll be presenting during the 10:45 hour in the Master Servants class. We've got Bible Bowl, which is going to be starting up soon. If you want information about that, let us know. And then Serve Day, which is coming up rather quickly. So there you go, TLC top 3 of the week to let you know about. Okay, Brian, it's just you and I.
Yeah.
It's time to get real.
Have we ever done it just with 2 people? Maybe we have.
We've never done it with just 2 people. I don't think so.
We usually have someone here for our spotlight.
We usually do.
Today I feel weird. We've got a different setup and the computer's way over here. So if you see me looking this way,
it's all good.
I'm sorry. There was a bug that just...
Yeah, I saw that. I was going to go stomp it and I decided
I'm going to be honest. I almost don't know whether I should say this. Some people meet in this room. But the biggest spider I have ever seen was in this room last weekend. I'm serious. Jessica called me. Jessica, my wife, cleans the church. She called me in my office. She's like, you have to come back here right now. She told me what it was, and I was like, do you have the vacuum? Because I don't, for spiders that big, I don't get that close. I get the vacuum and just suck it up. And literally, this was like...
Give me like a visual here.
Oh, its legs were easily... This was probably 4 to 5 inch.
Oh my goodness.
It's a wolf spider.
Oh. Listen.
Which they're not supposed to be dangerous anymore, but man, it was right over there by the door too.
Listen, just so you all know, we have this building treated often. They'll come and they'll spray for bugs and all that. But it's a big building. It's an older building at this point now. You're bound to have stuff like that happen. I've never seen one that big. That's huge.
Yeah, the boys can vouch for us. We made them come look for it. And then it was in that shark vacuum. So after we vacuumed it up, you could see it in there moving around. It was all covered in dust.
So are you having a little PTSD right now being in this room? Like, what's going to
I'm okay. Down? I've gotten a little better on spiders. I still don't want it to be right there beside me. But
is that your thing? Is spiders your thing? Or is it all
my mom is terrified of spiders, and she instilled that in me when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then I've worked on it to...
So what about, how does that rank with like snakes? Are you okay with snakes?
Snakes don't bother me that much. We just don't like them in the house.
Oh yeah.
On the spider thing, it's funny because even when I got to college, I was kind of terrified of spiders. And Stan McCrary, the counseling professor, he worked with me some on how to get over your spider phobia. And some of those things come to my mind.
Oh, man.
It's funny.
Well, maybe we just need to dive into this for our spotlight, is the fears that we have and the fears that were passed on to us. Actually, that's the great transition, because today we were going to talk a little bit about the baton that we pass on to the generations. This morning, I was watching the funeral service of Tony and Todd Beaverson's father. He passed away, and they held the services this morning, and he recorded a great video. Larry, Tony and Todd's dad, recorded a video of what he wanted to tell everybody there, what he wanted to pass along to them, which was super powerful, by the way. I hope I have the state of mind to be able to record a video like that for my friends and family. But that's what he talked about, is he's hopeful that his family will carry on the legacy of noticing and being mindful of and being there for people who are often forgotten. And at the end of the service, Tony, he talked about how the baton of faith has been handed on, and it's their turn now to carry that on. And then he handed out batons to all of the family members, which I thought was super cool. But it makes you think about the Apostle Paul when he says, I've run the race, I've fought the good fight. He's talking to Timothy in 2 Timothy, and he says, I've been poured out, and now it's your responsibility to carry on this faith that I've passed to you. And so it made me think about how have I been influenced, what have been handed to me and trusted to me by others, and then how do I pass it along to those around me? And you could kind of think about it in, I guess, the negative sense that we have these things like a fear of spiders that we pass along to our children, And my wife and I talk about that all the time, is there are things from our parents that we have to deal with that we don't want our children to deal with. My wife doesn't like bees. And so she's tried to not, she wants my children to be cautious of bees and wasps, but she doesn't want to panic to give that to them.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to think about what you've received from your parents and the people that you grew up around, and then what you want to pass on and what you don't want to pass on.
Yeah.
How are the boys around spiders?
I think we've tried to do the same thing with things that are kind of phobias or things that we don't want to pass on. Tried to be mindful of not freaking out. Yeah. Because I just remember spider would be in the basement growing up. My mom would freak out. Yeah. We're gonna seal it off until Dad comes home.
We're burning the house down. We're moving.
We would have terribly large wolf spiders and stuff in that basement. Same way as here. Yeah. Not even poisonous things. They just look.
Yeah, creepy.
Yeah. So, the boys, like Dawson, with bugs and stuff, really doesn't. Their issues are more just based around their own personality. Right. Dawson's more adventurous. Mm-hmm. Preston, in some things he is, but most things not quite so much. Yeah. But like you say, you pass on things whether you try to or not. And a lot of them you don't want to. Yeah. They're just habits they see you do, or little quirks or whatever, and it's built into them. Yeah. And not necessarily DNA, but it's the things that they've seen, as long as they can remember. Yeah.
Well, how do you then, I know this is a silly example with spiders, but I think there's some lessons there in general with how we make sure we are passing along things that we want to be intentional about, passing on things that we think are good, that we want them to, not just our children, but people around us, we want them to be even better than we have been. I think that's the goal of any parent, is I want my children to go beyond what I was able to do. And when we think about a mentor-mentee relationship, or like a Paul and Timothy, where he's, an example spiritual father figure, and he's helping lead Timothy, he's wanting him to go further than he was able to go. How do we even do that, as we're still trying to figure life out and be faithful? You got any thoughts on that?
Well, this is kind of what you're asking. I think at the stage of parenting, right, especially with Preston, I'm thinking about letting him become his own person. Career, even though it's still pretty early for that. We'll have a little discussion, not real serious. Right. But more looking at maybe the passions. That'd be a better word for it. It's just the passions he has, because that'll often lead to career or whatever, right, or something he does missionally or whatever. But when I was thinking about letting him be his own person, and even going beyond us, you mentioned that. I love to play piano. I've taught him to play piano to a certain level. the other day I was sitting there looking at some stuff he did on his own, and I'm like, at some point I'm not going to be able to teach him. Like he has the potential to surpass me. Because we had sung that song, They'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love. I don't know why, but he must like that song. He printed it out in 2 different keys. He found them on his own, on his iPad, in 2 different arrangements, printed it out. He's sitting there. We've never even studied the key of A flat before. And he's playing They'll Know We Are Christians in the key of A flat with no teaching. And I'm like, okay, before long, like, I'm not going to be able to even...
I will be obsolete.
Yeah, really. Like what I basically am with both of those boys really is accountability. Make sure you practice, make sure you do your lesson, but if they're passionate about it, like they want to learn and they're almost teaching themselves. Then there's certain things like math, we may have to force them to sit there, and we may have to actually teach them. Every kid's got their own things that they'll do on their own. But where I was going that with, I'm not necessarily looking at it like I'm going to pass the baton like they have to do all those things that I did. I think it's passing the baton of like values and passions and stuff. And I saw the video of Larry because I helped Tony with the editing on the computer and stuff, and he did it here at the church. So I got a sneak peek at that. I mean, I was crying when I first saw it because it's just powerful, and he wasn't at all saying you have to do exactly this and every grandkid has to, go to this specific person or do this job or anything. But he was talking about really values and being missional and having a purpose that you fulfill in life. And the video specifically is something we could use, I said, maybe as a sermon illustration at some point, even for our people.
Yeah, we're going to hang on.
Who most of them don't even know him, and yet it would still be impactful.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you think about what I want to pass along. I think a big important part of that is recognizing parts of yourself that you value and parts of yourself that you want to work on. Being self-aware of this is who I am, these are the areas that I want to pass along, the values that I think are important long-term, and then, these are the things that I hope I don't pass along. I want my children, one for me is I want them to be able to make their own choices and be assertive, because that's something that I have had to work on is, making choices and saying this is what I want. But then there's things about me that I don't want to pass on. I don't want them to have some of the same struggles or issues that I've gone through. And so maybe being self-aware to say, okay, I know there's parts of me that have great value, and then there's parts of me that I want to help them avoid. And then, like you said, being that person that can be accountable for them. And again, whether we're talking about children or even someone that you're mentoring, it's not your responsibility to make their choices and to determine for them what exactly they need to do. That's up between them and God. It's more, how can you help them along the way? And then I think that piece of holding them accountable is great. That's how you pass the baton, because at some point you've got to let go. If you're talking about a runner, getting it to them and then cheering them on as they're running is the handoff is important, because sometimes we hang on a little too long.
Well, I was thinking the other day with Dawson about how to fail, because when we do the piano lesson, he does not want to mess up
at all.
He'll sit there and he'll be in tears before he even starts a new song. And he's sitting there air playing it, because when he starts playing it, he wants to be perfect. And I just stopped and I said, buddy, there is nothing that I do that I can do perfect the first time. But like how just things like that, passing on. How do you help your kids learn how to? Isn't it fail well, or there's some
fail forward?
Fail forward. Yeah. There was some phrase like that we've heard in a sermon or something, and it's like And that's a dumb little idea because everyone's going to mess up when you're learning an instrument.
Sure.
But it's like for a while they don't.
Yeah.
Like the easy little stuff for your first book,
You can master.
You can almost play it perfect if you're talented enough.
Sure.
The first time.
Yeah.
And school's the same way, depending on what kind of a student you are. But like I remember that point at which I have to study now, like from when I was in school.
Yeah.
And I didn't get an A. I got a B. It's stuff like that. And
Some of you listening right now are rolling your eyes at Brian, because you're like me, where you've always had to study. None of that ever came natural. So
no, but you know what I'm saying though.
Yep.
Like there's, I don't know. It just those are the kind of things I want to do well as a parent or as a mentor. I mean, you may not even have kids. You may be mentoring some coworker.
Yeah.
But you're trying to teach to do their job. You're a mentor or a supervisor, whatever it is. Like we're not going to do anything perfect the first time.
no.
And how do we have a system of accountability? And some of those things we learn, like you were talking about, parenting. Like I remember when I was a kid, sometimes dreading doing a job with my dad because he would lose his patience with something goes wrong, whatever.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that before. Now it's funny to talk about it, to be honest. And Dad and I will talk about it, and I catch myself doing that same thing with the boys. Like,
Can you let them
we don't
mess
have
up?
the right tool, or we have to go to Lowe's 3 times to buy stuff we didn't think we were going to need, or whatever it is, or we make a wrong cut,
Right.
and then it ruins a whole piece
thing.
of plywood. And I catch myself after the fact, like, I don't want them to hate doing these things because they fear the moment at which
You lose it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I still do it sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are the things I do not want to pass on.
Yeah.
And yet you can't really help it. They're things that they're kind of lifelong issues that we work on.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, especially this year when we've talked about making disciples. I think the principle that we all have to understand is we are passing along things to those around us. Whether you are doing it intentionally or not intentionally, people are taking things from you, and it will stick with them. If you're a parent, if you are an uncle, an aunt, if you are a grandparent, if you are a friend, people are learning from you, and they're going to be taking things from you. And at some point, the influence you have in their life will be over. Whether it's a changing of season or at the end of your life, at some point we let go of the baton that we're passing along. And whatever we did intentionally and sometimes unintentionally is going to be out of our hands. And so the encouragement is make sure you're intentional about it. Recognize who you are and have a desire of this is what I want to pass along. And then the work between you and the Holy Spirit of saying, how do I do that? Whether it's my children or whether it's a person I'm trying to mentor. We all pass along things, and I hope that we are all able to say, like Paul did, I did my best. We know Paul made mistakes, but I poured myself out, and now I'm able to pass along to those around me for the final time. Hey, this is what I am, this is what I have, and I'm giving it, and now it's somebody else's job to continue the values and the life that I'm trying to live. We hope that is encouraging to you. We want to end this podcast with a blessing of the week. This is something that we do every week that just gives you a thought that you can take with you the rest of the week until we meet again with the next podcast. So Brian has the blessing of the week, and then we're going to be done.
Yep. So just a little thought that I sometimes do the daily refresh on YouVersion. I'd say every other day or so at least. And this was kind of on there, and it's something I needed because we're about to head into just the crazy months. These are the craziest months for me, at least. Different ministers around here have different
seasons.
Crazy months.
Yep.
But the fall for me is, we just stack events and stuff we have to construct and tear down and all those.
Yep.
Recruit, a lot of recruiting. But Matthew 11, we often go to that when we think about rest and letting Jesus help bear that load for us. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I'm humble and gentle at heart. You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." And it says Jesus wasn't saying to come to him and do nothing. So he's not saying quit your job or abandon your whole life or something like that.
Sure.
It isn't a call to be lazy, basically. But it talks about the yoke. And I was studying a little bit about the yoke a couple years ago, and I wrote a song that talks about this passage. We've never done it yet because I just put it, I don't know.
Have I heard?
Put it on the burner. I think you have. I need to pull it out and actually finish it and do it because it's a song along these lines. But the yoke, it joins two animals together, usually for farm work, plowing a field or whatever. And it's because two are stronger than one, And Jesus' mention of the yoke, the little Devo this morning said this: it implies that there's still work to be done, but we don't have to do it alone. And just so many times, and that's something I bring up a lot to myself because I try to do so much stuff alone. I even struggle with reading a Devo and having my God time, and then it's so easy to even put that on the shelf, and then you're still living in your own power. That's just being kind of brutally honest about how I'm wired. But the rest that he can provide is, yes, we need to take Sabbath time. And like tomorrow I'm gonna have a day where I set aside some time for Sabbath. But the rest he can give us is even in the midst of all of that craziness that's coming up, if we're doing it with him the whole time. And he's pulling the wagon or the cart behind us, and sometimes he even takes a greater share of that,
Probably a lot.
He's way more powerful than us. But I just think that was my blessing, because there's people that we know families that we've been praying for and dealing with that are bearing extremely heavy burdens. And a lot of them are ongoing. It's not just like this week. It's like their life is crazy right now. And Jesus can give you little times of rest and reprieve even in the midst of that. So
that's a great reminder. So whether you're, worried and stressed over how to be intentional about passing along the good to those around you, or whether it's a difficult circumstance that you're going through this week, or you're just stressed or just busy, remember that you are not alone, that God is with you. It's a great encouragement. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and we hope to see you next week here at the Ripple Effect Podcast. I hope you guys have a great day.